Hi everyone. So last time I shared about how I was praying through Joy's prophecy and how I felt like there were things that we needed to leave behind as a church in order to be able to take up the new things that God has for us. And I've been reflecting over the last couple of weeks about what that means for me personally. And one of the ways that I've chosen to do that is by reading a book by John Mark Comer called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I chose that because prior to lockdown, something that I've been discussing with my discipleship group is just how busy we've become as a society and as a church. And that's something that I really feel personally with a really busy job and two young children at home. And I'm finding the book extremely challenging because it highlights just how busyness and hurry are the enemies of relationship and love. And one of the things that it really highlights is just how technology has become such a key contributor to this in the last few years, particularly because it distracts us. And something that some of you may know about me is that I am definitely the opposite of a Luddite. In the words of Eddie Izzard, I don't have techno fear, I have techno joy. And obviously, one of the things that we've all experienced during this time of lockdown is just how useful the technology we have can be in terms of being able to work from home and being able to keep in touch with people that we aren't able to see at the moment. But I have to admit that despite all these wonderful uses of technology, it is a huge distraction. Um, and thinking back to before lockdown, I'd come home after a busy day. I would then get involved straight away with the kids, get them in bed, and then I just want to switch off at the end of the day, watch some Netflix, read some news, read my tech blogs. And before I know it, the day is over and I'm going to bed. Um, and I know that a lot of people that I've chatted to have also shared with me that in lockdown, they might have had some ideas about how they could use this time, but end up just getting kind of sucked into the news cycle and just endlessly reading or watching the news, getting on social media to sort of like keep up with what people are doing. And we've got this constant stream of distraction, distraction, and distraction in our lives. And we never allow ourselves to get bored or be in silence, because as soon as we sort of feel those pangs of boredom, we pick up our mobile devices and do something. And I've been reflecting on my life, and how much stress and tiredness I often feel. I often say that in my job, I feel like I sort of work at 110 miles an hour, and then consistently get to the end of every term either on the verge of burnout or very actually burnt out. And one of the passages that John highlights in his book is Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, where Jesus says, "If you're tired from carrying heavy burdens, come to me and I'll give you rest. Take the yoke that I give you, put it on your shoulders and learn from me. I'm gentle and humble and you will find rest. This yoke is easy to bear and this burden is light." And I think I'd often read that and think, that sounds really nice, but I'm not sure how to do that. And one of the things that John Mark says in his book is that what we've missed is that Jesus is actually inviting us to apprentice ourselves to him, which means more than just reading his words and understanding them and thinking that they're wonderful, but actually choosing to live our lives the way that he lived them. In the Message version, the verse is like this. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." The last time that I shared, I talked a little bit about how Israel had been in the wilderness for a long time following their exodus from Egypt, and how that time was a time where God prepared them for what He wanted to do in taking them into what He had promised them. And one of the things which is paralleled with that in the life of Jesus is when Jesus was baptized, He immediately went out into the wilderness. And one of the observations in this book is that, Jesus waited 30 years to start His ministry. He then gets baptized and He immediately goes right back out into the wilderness to be alone for a really long time. And like the author, I often sort of saw this as like a real time of weakness for Jesus, where He's fasting and He's weak and He's then tempted when He's at His weakest. But what the author then points out is that actually it's probably that we've been misreading this, and that actually in order for Jesus to face the temptation of the devil, He actually needed to be his strongest. And the way that Jesus was at His strongest was when He spent 40 days just alone talking with the Father and getting spiritually energized in order to face this battle with the devil. And I just kind of feel like I need more of that in my life. I need more of the silence, more of the times of really feeling like I connect with God and getting plugged into the source of energy, in order to be able to live better, rather than perhaps the ways that I have chosen, which is being distracted by things and being very, very, very busy. And I want to learn the unforced rhythms of grace so that I'm exploring how I can build healthier rhythms that prioritize what's actually important to me, rather than allowing myself to be continually distracted. So one of the ways which I've just started this week is that I want to take proper Sabbath day rest, which is something that Jesus practiced. And Ruth and I have kind of decided that that day is going to be a day without the internet, without devices. We'll still kind of connect with family and chat with family and do things that are life-giving and restful to us, that are sort of grounded in worship and relationship, but not doing things which kind of like distract us into the busyness of modern life. And I also want to spend a bit of time over the next few weeks trying to deliberately plan times to be quiet with Jesus, which is easier said than done when you're in a house with two toddlers, or two young children. But one of the ways that Ruth feels that she wants to do this is that she's quite often awake in the night when she's feeding Lucy. And it's often in those times of quiet in the night where she can choose not to just pick up her phone, but to actually just spend a bit of time talking to God and allowing Him to put things on her heart for the day ahead. And so I want to encourage all of us to consider how much we're distracted by different things, and to think about how we can plan some quiet time into each day without distractions. And I'd say even without devotionals or worship music, just time where we're spending in silence trying to talk to Jesus. And it sounds simple, but I think it's also really difficult, especially when we're used to all the noise and all the distractions around us. And so what I would suggest is just starting with something really small, like 20 minutes, perhaps 20 minutes in the morning, perhaps then adding 20 minutes in the evening, and just seeing where God leads you with that and seeing what He says to you.